Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the week ahead, where we assess the upcoming week's opportunities. Okay, so we've got it's a pretty big week. It's one of those another sort of loopy one for Mondays. Primarily, if I just I'll even make it a bit easier just to get out the Forex factory here, so I can just quickly go through the weekly events as they're laid out here. Now, there's been a few changes to a few of the dates, and we're just updating the live webinar schedule for this week. There's been a couple of changes of dates, so that should be concluded in about 20 minutes. We'll have the full complete schedule for all the higher impacting events. But now, sort of just coming back to the factory just quickly, the Forex factory. One of the things that Mondays is usually a day where we're sort of just doing some analysis, looking at the markets, trying to get a general feel for the reconnection of the momentum from Friday's trading. So there's a couple of things to do. One we'll come to next is going through the sort of technicals for each of the currency pairs. But looking here, this HSBC flash manufacturing out of China, it is a sort of high impacting event. It sort of comes and goes with its importance. There's there's the HSBC flash manufacturing, then there's the China manufacturing data. I think the other one's bigger than this, but just with the current sort of volatile markets, it's probably worthwhile keeping an eye on this one, just to, if there is any sort of significant variance here in this number on the right-hand side, that's where the currency will go. Now, above 50 means expansionary, below 50 is generally contractionary. So a number below 50, you'll see the Aussie dollar come off. It has to be sort of significantly variant to really get this thing moving, particularly on a Monday. And that's sort of where we are. So what we had on Friday, we had the German federal elections. Merkel was re-elected, so there's no sort of change in the general feeling of the euro. Now that's now as we come into sort of Monday night, we've got this German flash manufacturing data. First thing in Europe. One thing to think about, I don't think this is going to be much of an event, primarily because we've got the ECB President Draghi speaking some 4 hours later, 4.5 hours later, 5.5 hours later. So that's probably the main event. I wouldn't sort of worry too much about hanging around looking at euro for this. Okay, so then if we just sort of scroll down a touch, there's a few other things on as well. We're looking at sort of coming into Tuesday. Now we've got the Swiss National Bank Chairman Jordan speaking. That's not. I'm not sort of too worried about that. The one key thing to always remember though about the Swiss, there has been rumours that they were going to decrease the level of euro Swiss they were going to protect. If they do that, it'll be extremely negative for euro and it'll get hit hard. So there's always that sort of thing on the outside chance when the Swiss National Bank Chairman speaks. And coming into Tuesday, the market should be settling down somewhat from the German elections and the general weekend itself. Back to the German IFO business climate. This is a good historical number. It gives you good insight into, obviously the general sentiment of business over there, particularly in Germany. That can be high impacting. It's probably one to have a look at. Don't get sort of overexcited, but it is a key number. But the main event for Tuesday is definitely the Canadian retail sales. Once again, we've got one number to concentrate on. The CAD's been whipping around all over the place, so this should give us a very good opportunity to get some key directional focus. If there's only sort of short-term or small variance, we may only see a short-term trading opportunity. But if there's that sort of bigger variance, then this is where those sort of medium-term moves can come in. You can get some really good points out of it. So that's probably worth watching just to try and gauge the momentum of the CAD for the week. Then from there, there's this consumer confidence in the US. It's not a real big number. I don't particularly sort of get too excited about it. They've highlighted it here in red. I'm not a big fan. But Wednesday, this is where the US data really sort of starts to dominate. We've got a couple of numbers here, particularly the durable goods orders. This is a good judge of how the real economy is going. If the durable goods orders are up, well, then things are looking generally pretty good. If they're down, well, then things are quite sluggish. And, this will sort of lead into that tapering stuff that was sort of the FOMC was talking about last week. They're looking at the good data. That'll continue the tapering stuff. This is probably one of the first big releases since then. And we'll provide the backdrop for the market with regards to whether the FOMC start tapering next month or not. Also, the new home sales. Once again, any US data at the moment is sort of critical to the whole tapering fiasco. So US data this week is probably a little bit more important than it otherwise has been. Then as we get down here into sort of Thursday, we've got the UK current account figures. Now that's just not even worth looking at. There's no big drama. It doesn't really have any implications for anything. The current account and trade balance numbers. We've got the weekly unemployment claims out of the US. Once again, it's a pretty, it's a soft loss. It can impact the market, but it's not the main unemployment number. It's just a weekly sort of gauge. It has had some credibility. If it is varied by sort of 50,000 or something, it can impact. But generally, I'm not sort of a big fan of it. It's not my number one thing anyway. Put it that way. Thursday in the US, we've got pending home sales, the second sort of release of the housing numbers. Once again, it's another piece of the puzzle. With the US housing numbers, there is three, new homes, pending homes, and there's one other one which I just slipped my mind for the moment. So it comes out next week. So these housing numbers are, it's just a 1, 2, 3. So they are sort of medium impacting, not I wouldn't put specifically high. But what we have another FOMC member speaking, Stein, speaking later on Thursday. Maybe something to look out for. ANZ business confidence. It's not a high impacting event at all. And then Friday night we've got ECB President Draghi speaking, plus a few more FOMC guys as well. And that's sort of takes us into the end of the week. I just sort of scroll down a touch here just to round off the bottom. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of central bankers talking sort of Friday, from Draghi to the bunch of FOMC guys here. I wouldn't be sort of getting too excited about Friday. So this is the, coming into the 3rd/4th week of the month, or 4th week of the month. It's generally where there's very little extra data. This is the 1 week where the currencies sort of go back to technical trading a lot more than the key fundamentals. They'll be out sort of the start of next month. So that's the sort of backdrop they've got. It's a bit of a sort of a slow start. So one thing I forgot to highlight was the actual Japanese holiday. When Japan is off, Tokyo's out, the general Asian market is very quiet. So which makes this HSBC manufacturing data, maybe less of an impact. But if it is variant, as I said, it probably kicks off the week with a potential move in the Aussie dollar in particular. So with that in mind, you look at the week, it's a bit patchy as far as data goes. We've got the quite a lot of central bankers speaking. There's a very big shortage of key data. I think the sort of key ones, if you're sort of looking to get a little bit excited, is definitely the CAD retail sales on Tuesday. It's a number. It's one sort of number that actually everyone can sort of get stuck into, and as well, it's not ambiguous. Kiwi trade balance, don't worry about that. Probably the US durable goods. That's probably it as far as the sort of key fundamental directional sort of trade. So Tuesday and Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday in the US. And that's pretty much it. So it's a pretty patchy week. So with that in mind, what you want to do is actually just concentrate on the charts. Get all your majors up in front of you. Make sure you've got all these trend lines redrawn. As I said, we had a very pretty wild week last week as far as big moves in the currencies on the back of the FOMC in particular. Then obviously finishing up with some strong data on Thursday, Friday. It sort of pushed, the US dollars come back pretty aggressively. So these are the you want to be sort of redrawing your trend lines from now, and just making sure these things are tuned up so you can actually know exactly where the good key entry levels are. Once you've got your charts up in front of you and you've got the trend lines redrawn and you're focused on the actual events, that's when we can you start to look for these key fundamental releases like the one we're looking at today. at 11:30. I've just sort of put it up as a, we'll be doing a webinar on the Chinese manufacturing data. You're looking at the general move of the Aussie, seeing where the sort of key levels are on the on your charts here, looking for, say, potential moves down, or if the data comes out strong, how high it can go up. And what we have got here on the Aussie dollar in particular, I'll just run through this while we're here. We do have a bit of a short-term sort of resistance line here, which, with a lack of any other sort of resistance around, it's probably the one sort of level that most of them will be looking at. You can see the one at the top here, up around 95.10. That's the line everyone will draw. And there's this sort of very short-term trend line here. You're looking at whether this thing is going to come into play. And there's an opportunity, maybe a short-term trade, just to kick the week off. But bear in mind, it is a Japanese holiday, and I don't really believe there's any substance in the market on Mondays when the Japanese are out. So that's the sort of key stuff. So just get your charts up. The week itself is pretty patchy. It's one of those good weeks to get a bit more relaxed, and just keep an eye on what the central bankers are talking about, but just keep an eye on your technicals more so this week. All right. So any questions, guys, with the weekly outlook? There's not much, as I was just mentioning. There's not too much to get excited about. As I said, the live trading schedule will be updated in a few minutes, and you'll be able to go through those things and just work out exactly your plan of attack for some of the data releases. Looking for some shifts in momentum from the key data itself, and that's pretty much it. Keeping you basically your nose in the game. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. There's not too much to dwell on. As I said, the week starts off with this Chinese flash manufacturing data. We'll start the webinar at 11:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, and hopefully that gives us something to sort of look into and get us kicked off for the weekend or for the week. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it from the week ahead. We'll catch you guys in the webinars. Thanks very much for joining us.